friends, welcome into Cross My Heart Ministry. It's almost August, and that means it's time to release one of our 2 free downloads. And the other one, of course, is the Write the Word bookmark. But the one I want to talk about today is our Do It list. Now, I know a lot of you have found this just a very helpful resource. And I think part of what makes this so attractive and so appealing is that it's all on one page, You don't have to invest in a binder or multiple pages that has different checklists for this and that. The beauty of it is its simplicity. And so we've arranged this. It's sort of been birthed from all my years of raising a family. And then I realized I finally had it figured out and they're out the door. So this is me trying to steward well what I learned and help you get up the learning curve for managing your home and hearth and keeping things somewhat neat and tidy and organized. Remember, I always say that that's not the end goal. The end goal is not a clean, organized, tidy home. The end goal is to take care of those tasks so that you are freed up to do the eternal things, to invest in people, to love people well, to share the gospel, to invest in advancing the kingdom of Jesus Christ. And so this is a tool to help you get through the other stuff to get onto the better stuff. And so my Do It list is organized into daily, weekly, and monthly tasks. And so all on one page. And so what I like to do each month when we introduce the new one, and to print your own, there is a link in the notes below where you can print this version, which is pre-populated with all the different tasks, or you can print one that's totally blank, and then you can fill in your own tasks. I know a lot of you like to use this to develop chore charts for your children, and I just love that idea. I love the idea of training them to manage a household and to learn to do laundry and to manage a home and do those different tasks. That's just as important a part of their training as it is to learn math and learn to fix a car and learn how and just the other things about life and living. And so when I bring you the Do It list each month, I like to zero in on one item on one of these 3 lists. And so today, you'll notice that on the monthly inventory, I put something called freezer inventory. And that is there to remind me to check what's in the freezer. I have picked up some habits from my mother. She freezes everything. If there's one pepperoni roll left and nobody has eaten it, it'll go in the freezer. If there are 2 peanut butter balls left after Christmas, she'll put a little Tupperware container in there. Her freezer is packed with stuff. And you would think I grew up in the Great Depression because I don't like to throw anything away. So I freeze lots of things. And so I throw them in the freezer, but it's easy to freeze it and forget it. I remember there was a cookbook years ago called Fix It and Forget It, but you can freeze it and forget about it. And so that's why I developed another free download for you this month. It's sort of a download to accompany the download. And I'm calling this the freezer inventory. Now, this, if you click the link below and open yours up, there will be a beautiful colored version that Beth has created for us. My color printer is out of ink, so I apologize that you have to look at this black and white version. But it's pretty simple, really. It has columns for date frozen, the description, best used by, and you might want to just do some Googling to find out how long should I keep ground beef in the freezer, or how long is it safe to freeze fish or a casserole or that kind of thing. I didn't do that work for you, but I'm sure that's easy to find out from Dr. Google, Mr. Google, and then some notes. So I'm not going to open up my freezer and let you look inside. I'll let you into my home, but I'm going to stop at the door of my freezer. But I'm in my laundry room where I have my freezer. And I've actually been working to clear out the freezer. And so I think this is a good thing for all of us to routinely just try to use it up. And you've seen me do a video on using up what's on my pantry shelf. And so I've also been working this summer to use up what's in my freezer. And so it's a good time for me to take inventory of what's in there because I'm getting close to using up what's in there. And I found things that I've forgotten were back there. And a couple of those things had to be pitched and thrown out. So I developed this little tool. I want to do a better job of managing my freezer inventory. And so let me just go down the list and show you what I've put on my freezer inventory list so far. We had the whole family home in June, and I was going to grill hamburgers. And our Sam's Club has these lovely prime rib burgers. The meat is just wonderful. And they make them in a mini version. So it's the perfect size for the grandchildren. I was going to buy burgers or buy the ground beef and make the burgers, but they're pre-done. And then because they're so little, that's perfect for not having waste with grandkids. They cook up quicker, so are easier to make. And I could sort of allocate one for the 4-year-old and the 2-year-old and really the 9-year-old. She's not a big eater either. And then have 3 or 4 for the guys and maybe 2 for the ladies. And so I overbought. No one is ever going to go home hungry from Grammy's house. So I bought 2 packages of that, and there were a lot in there. So I've got 14 of those mini burgers left. And so certainly wasn't going to let those primary burgers go to waste. So I got them in the freezer pretty quickly. So I froze those on June 15th. I've got 14 mini burgers. And then isn't it weird how the buns and the burgers just never line up right? So we ended up with 24 extra mini buns. And those will be great for little sandwiches. I might do some turkey and ham and cheese and lettuce and tomato, whatever. So I may just do a lunch and use the rest of those burgers. But again, you don't want to leave bread in the freezer too long. I also want to caution you, I've learned, and maybe you've learned, never freeze bread in the package it comes in. That's not a freezer-safe package. If you're going to freeze bread, go ahead and put it in a freezer bag if you want it to have the maximum life to be able to reuse it later and avoid a freezer burn. So those are in there, and I've got that on my radar to make burgers. Then I did a recent video to celebrate National Blueberry Day, and I did a blueberry pound cake. And so if you remember that video, I took the butt pan recipe, and I did it in 2 separate paper containers. And so I took one and used it with a family event. And then I've got the other one in there ready to give away to a friend or to use when my husband's home again. I don't like to thaw things like that and then be tempted to eat it all on my own. And then there's some leftover lasagna. And I put leftover, and that clues me in that it was probably, I think it's about 1/3 of a pan of lasagna. So it's not a complete lasagna that I could use for a dinner or take to someone. It's just leftovers. And so I can thaw that. The leftover clues me in. It's probably just enough for a meal for Kevin and me, and I can throw a salad with it and call it good. And then lastly, I froze a container of poppy seed chicken. And that is a complete meal. Doesn't say leftover. And I put some notes. There's a notes section here. And I reminded myself, bake at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. And so the poppy seed chicken was prepared and made and frozen. But so when I thaw it, then I need to bake it. And so I like to have a casserole in there ahead and ready to go. If you already bake it and then freeze it and then reheat it, it sort of feels more like leftovers to me. But if you freeze it before you prepare it, whether that's lasagna, poppy seed chicken, what have you, then when you bake it, it feels like you just made it that day and it's fresh. So I hope this gives you an idea for how you can manage what's in your freezer better. Remember what's in there. If you have a chest freezer, it's probably even more important because things can really get buried in there because you almost have to stand on your head to find what's down in that freezer. So an inventory is even more important if that's the style freezer you had. My grandmother had one of those. And I felt like every year when we would help her freeze corn, she would be digging to the bottom and find corn from last year that had to be thrown out. And what could be worse than throwing out, homegrown corn? So don't throw any of that out. This will help you, I hope, be a good steward of what God has given to you, help you sort of keep that on your radar, what you have, and help you not only manage your money better because you're not wasting food that you've purchased and put in there, but manage your time better. If you prepared it, you don't want to have to prepare something again. And on that day that you've got a lot of errands or things happening, it's really great to have something in the freezer that you can pull out and feed your family. So 2 free downloads for you today, friend. Our monthly regular, the Do-It-List, available again in 2 versions, the regular and the blank one to fill in on your own. But even the one that we have pre-filled leaves some blank lines for you to add some of the tasks that you need to do that you can adapt to your life and your responsibilities. And then also this month, the freezer inventory that I hope will be a handy tool for you to take stock of what you got and be sure that you use it all up and are a good steward of what God has given you. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. For Cross My Heart Ministry, I'm Laurie McFarland.